Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new tutorial. Today's video we're going to start making a menu GUI. This is going to be a multi-part tutorial since there's a lot to cover in this, but the gist of what we're going to make today is a menu bar with 3 buttons, and each button takes you to a different page, as you can see here. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is insert a new screen GUI into the starter GUI and rename this. I'm just going to go ahead and rename this menu GUI. And inside of here, the first thing we're going to go ahead and place is a frame. And I'm going to go ahead and make this frame the size of the entire screen by doing 1, 0, 1, 0 for the size. I'll just make it the entire screen, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make it invisible by sliding this all the way or just putting 1 right there. Then I'm just going to call this menu. Inside the menu, I'm going to go ahead and make a new text button, and I'm going to go ahead and position and size this accordingly. So do this however you want, but I'm going to go by doing 0.1 on the X scale, and I believe if I put 0.1 for the Y scale as well. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then for position, I'm just going to go ahead and do 0.01 on the X and 0.45 on the Y. There we go, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go ahead and color it the way I want. I like to just put black and then make it half transparent. And then I just like to delete the text inside. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is just duplicate this twice and position these accordingly. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to right there. And take this one and move it up. Alright, so now I have 3 buttons. You can add as many buttons as you want. You'll see why in a minute. Every button is just going to have the same properties, and you can add as few or as many as you want. That's what makes this system that I'm making today very customizable. So in each button, I'm going to go ahead and add a text label. Now, you could just add text to the text button, but I like putting a text label inside of the text button as it gives you a little bit more power and customizability when it comes to making it how you want. So for the size here, I'm just going to go ahead and make it completely 1 on the X and halfway on the Y, so that it goes up and down halfway. And then just drop it by a quarter. Whoops. And that's how it looks like over there. And then I'm just going to make the background transparent and change the text accordingly. I'm going to call this label 1 for now. In the next part, we'll actually be adding sort of functionality to these buttons and meaning, but for now they're just going to be called label 1 and page 1 and so on. And I'm just going to change the font and make the text scaled how I want, and just change the color, and then just copy and paste into each one. So this would be label 2. Once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add a quick little string value to each of these text buttons. And what this string value is going to do is I'm going to call it redirect. And I'm going to be using this as a value to tell the local script, which we're going to be coding later, what page or what frame to turn on when this button is clicked. So for now, I'm just going to make label 2 redirect to page 2. And just go ahead, copy, paste, paste, and make this one go to page 1, and make this one go to page 3. Alright, and the last thing I'm going to do, that's it for the buttons. I'm going to go ahead and just add a folder inside the menu, just so that this is organized and we can separate the buttons from the other GUI elements that you want to add. And just going to go ahead and put that in a folder right there, and then add another text button. I'm going to size this button. I'm going to size this 0.015, and then maybe 0.32, and then position it, and that looks pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and change the color once again. Change the text color. Give it an M for menu, and text scale it. Alright, so that's my GUI menu. You can of course change this to be the whole, change the button sizes, add different elements, add a background, add images, however you want to do it. I'm just doing the important stuff, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this to menu bar, so that we've got a menu, we've got buttons inside of the menu GUI. So stepping out of the menu GUI, I'm actually going to go ahead and add a folder in here called pages or frames, whatever you want to call it. And inside here I'm going to add a bunch of new frames. So each of these frames, I'm going to go ahead and give it a specific size. I'll go ahead and do 0.75 on the X, delete that, 0.8 on the Y, and then move it over, 0.15, and 0.1, maybe a little more, 0.7, 0.18. There you go. Change the color, background. Gonna give it a text label, and that text label I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a size. Nope, not what I meant to do. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and add text to this that says page 1. So I'm going to call this page 1. And this is the page that will pop up when label 1 is pressed, or whatever the redirect. I'm going to be naming the redirect values to the same values or the same names as the names of the frames in my pages. So you'll just have those be the same accordingly. So if you had a button that opened up a teleport menu, you would maybe call the redirect here, just call it teleport menu, and then the name of this frame would be teleport menu, or you can make it however you want. So I'm just go ahead and duplicate this twice, and quickly call this one page 2 and the other one page 3, and so forth. Okay, so we're all done. Once you're done making your pages, just go ahead and set the visible, select all of them, and set the visible Boolean value to false by unchecking it. And they'll all be invisible. They'll still be there, they just won't be visible. And we're going to go ahead and minimize all this. And we're almost done setting it up. We just need to add one more value, and that's going to be a string value. And I call this the page controller. And this is what's going to keep track of what page we're currently on. And that's going to be useful for later. So the default value, I'm just going to put none. and that's going to be my value for when no page is currently on. You can name this whatever you want as long as there's no page that is the same name as what you put here. I'm going to just put none. And then the last thing we're going to do is just insert a local script into it and just call that menu GUI. Okay, so moving on, we are going to go ahead and move on to the scripting side of this. It only takes one script, and it's only about 50 or 60 lines long, so it's really short. The first thing we're going to go ahead and do is localize some objects. And what I mean by this is by doing local menu GUI equals script.parent, local pages equals menu GUI dot pages, local page controller equals menu GUI dot page controller, local menu equals menu GUI dot menu. So this is the pages, the string value controller, and the menu frame. The next thing we're going to do is actually shift over the menu, because I want the menu to start off shifted over a little bit to the left, so you see the bar but you don't see those buttons. So what I'm going to do is starting menu position. I'll go ahead and do menu.position, and when you're dealing with GUI values or GUI sizes and positions, you use udim2 or udimension2.new. And for this one, I just put -0.11, 0, 0, 0, because that's how much I need to shift it over on the x-axis. And I'm also going to make a new variable to keep track of whether the GUI menu is open or closed. So I'm going to do local open equals false, because it's currently closed when I change it to -0.11. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is make a function to change the position of the menu like we did here. But what we're going to do is we're going to change it every time open is, well, actually it's going to change open to false or true, and then it's also going to change the position of the menu. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new function called local toggle menu equals function, and the first thing this is going to do is change the open value. So if it was false, it's going to become true, and if it was true, it's going to become false. So if it's open, it's going to become closed, closed is going to become open. And I'll just go ahead and, before I'm going to do anything, I'm just going to call print open, and we're going to have to find some way to connect this function, and we're going to do it through a mouse click, and we're going to do it on the menu bar, which we made earlier. So menu.menubar.mouse button one click connect, and we're going to connect that with toggle menu. So now whenever we click this, it should change the open value and it should print whatever it is. So this is a good way to check if you've done everything right so far. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we go over here, the menu should be shifted over so we can't see the buttons. I can only see the menu bar. And if I click it and I have the output, remember you can open the output by going to view and then right here clicking output. And every time you click it, it should print something out, either true or false, and it should alternate between the two. If not, you may want to look back and see if you did something wrong. Alright, so moving on. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do if open is equal to true, then, so that would be the GUI is being opened. We're going to do menu.position equals udimension2.new, and I'm just going to set it to the default 0000. Else, which means it's being closed, and menu.position equals udim2.new -0.11 0 0 0. So if we go ahead and test that, we should see that every time we click this menu bar, it's going to shift over the menu GUI, which looks pretty nice. However, it doesn't look nice enough. Normally, when you have something like that, you're going to want to tween the position. You don't want to just set it directly statically. You want to have a nice shift over. So we're going to implement a tween into the changing of this value. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the top and get tween service. Local tween service equals game get service tween service. And down here, so this would be the function to toggle menu between open and closed. And right here, we're going to have some menu tween info. Info for our tween. And every tween needs a goal, so we're going to just go ahead and localize that right away. Not going to put anything into it, but just construct a new table with the curly brackets and add some or create some tween info, because that isn't going to be changed, as I'm just going to make it one time and use it over and over again. So local tween info equals tween info.new. Make sure you capitalize everything right. And tween info.new takes a lot of parameters. The first one is time. I'm going to do half a second, so 0.5. The next one is easing style. I'm going to do enum.easing style.quint enum.easing direction.out. And real quickly, I'm going to show you a really cool page on the Roblox wiki, easing style, Roblox wiki easing style. Go ahead and click on this page. There's a really cool GIF right here that shows you all the different styles and a little demonstration, as well as right here at the bottom it tells you which way it's going as for the direction in or out. So here's out for all of them, and then in for all of them. So really cool little demonstration that you can base off of. That's how I get quint and out for what I want to choose. Then for repeat, we don't want any repeat counts, so just put 0. We don't want any reversing, so false, and we don't want any delay time, so 0 there. And that's it for the tween info. Now to actually implement the tween, instead of putting menu.position, we're going to change goal.position to tell the tween to change its goal. And we're going to go ahead and do tween service create menu, because that's what we're tweening. The tween info, we're going to import that, and the goal we want to tween to. So tween service create menu tween info goal close parentheses colon play. You can do that all in one line. And just go ahead and copy that and paste the same thing here. So now if we go ahead and test this, you should have something that goes a little something like this. So if you don't, you may want to go back and look if you did anything wrong, because that's what we should have so far. Now, the next thing I'm going to add is, so right here we'd had menu toggle on menu bar click, but let's say we want to have another way to open the menu. We'll do menu toggle on key press, and for the key press I'll just go ahead and do M. So we have two ways to open the menu. We can click the menu bar, or the player can press the letter M. To do this, we need to get the user input service. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. Local user input service equals game get service user input service. And inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and do user input service dot input began, which is whenever a new input has been created, connect function, and then this input began event carries over an input object to its parameter of the function it calls. So to demonstrate that, you just put input, close parentheses, enter, and now we have an input object to work with. To tell what key is pressed on that input object, we do if input.keycode is equal to enum.keycode dot, and then you'll see right here there's a ton of different keys to use with. For any of the letter keys, you just do a capital M or a capital A or whatever. Then so if input.keycode is equal to enum.keycode.m, then just go ahead and run the toggle menu function. So right here we just connected the toggle menu function to the event. Here we had to run an if statement and then run the function if the key code is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and test it. And there's two things that we want to look for. The first one is obvious. If you press M, it should open. And I'm pressing M right now. And it's opening. The other thing is that you should be able to interchangeably click and press M. So if I click and then press M, it should work either way. Or I can do click to open, M to close. It'll work interchangeably. Alright, so we're getting near the end. The last thing we really need to do is code the pages and the page controller. So the first thing we'll do is the pages. So we're going to connect clicking each button with their with changing the value of the page controller. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into menu.buttons, and we're going to get the children of the buttons, and we're going to implement a function to each of them. So we're going to do for key or K or whatever you want to put there. Some people will put underscore. Sometimes you'll see that. It doesn't really matter what you do. I like to put K for key because we're working with key value pairs. That's why I like to put K. For K, button in pairs, menu.buttons, get children, do. So this is going to iterate through all the menu.buttons children. And we'll go ahead and do button.mouse button, mouse button, one click connect function. So when that button is clicked, we're going to run this function. If page controller, we're going to do page controller dot value is equal to button dot redirect dot value. So whenever a button is clicked, we're going to change the page controller value to the value of the redirect that's inside the button, which is right here, or right here, or so on. The next thing we're going to do is have something that runs every time the page controller value is changed. So we're going to use the changed event. So when page controller changes value, page controller dot changed connect function, and the change connect, when used on a string value, will carry the new string value and its parameter, and we'll call that new page. And then for right now, just for testing purposes, we'll do print new page. So let's go ahead and test that. Alright, let's see. Clicking the M to open it, and then clicking each label should print out its respective page. So label 1, I put page 1 inside of it, its redirect value, and I have a page 1 frame inside my pages. That isn't necessary for this part, but just printing out the name that comes, you'll see that every time I click it on something new, it prints out the respective value. So, what we're going to do is, since it's So what we're going to do now is, since we have the new page, we're actually going to run first, every time it's changed, we're going to disable all the other pages. So make sure we clear it. So first, disable all existing pages. So that's simple. For k, page in pairs, pages get children. So get all the children in the pages folder. Page.visible equals false. So that's going to make them all invisible. And then after we've made them all visible again, we've just cleared it, reset. If the frame with the same name as the new page value exists, we're going to enable that frame. So if frame with new page name exists, enable that. So if pages find first child new page, so with the value that changed, new page, if that exists inside the pages folder, then pages index new page with we can index with the close brackets dot visible equals true. So now what I'm going to do is test that. So if we open the menu and click label 1, it'll open up page 1. Click label 2, open up page 2. And label 3 opens up page 3. I can click on any of these in any order. It'll remove the last page and open up the new one instantaneously. But there is one problem. We need to make it where if you click on a page that's already open, it closes that, so you have a way of exiting without the need of an exit button. We'll be adding an exit button in a future episode, a future tutorial, the next part. But for now, we also want to make sure that if you click one that's already opened, it just goes ahead and closes it. So we need to add an if statement to right here. So what I'm going to do is if page controller dot value is equal to button dot redirect dot value, then page controller dot value is equal to none, which is my default value for when I want no page to be open. So what's going to happen is, if the page controller's dot value is already equal to the button we just clicked, then just instead of changing it to the button dot redirect dot value, just change it to none. When it gets changed to none, when it gets to right here, it won't be able to find the page, so this code won't run and no page will be open. It'll just close it. It'll just leave it closed, I should say. And then we're just going to go ahead and cut this code clean up right here and put this in an else statement. So that only runs if what we clicked was different. So if what we clicked was different, it's going to run this. If what we clicked was the same, it's going to run this. So let's go ahead and test that one last time, because I believe we are done with part 1 of the menu GUI tutorial. Okay, and if I go ahead and open up the menu, click a label, it'll open up that page, switching between the pages. And if I open up page 1 and then click it again, it should close. So that's what I meant by if it's the same, if it's different, open it. If it's the same, close. So that should wrap up the introduction to the menu GUI tutorial. In the next episode, or next part, or whatever you want to call it, we're going to be adding some sort of functionality and decorating the pages a little bit. So making a more official, complete menu GUI, and adding maybe a store, or maybe a teleport page, whatever. I still have to come up with it a little bit, but for now, that's all I have. Be sure to check out my Discord down below to download the project file if you get stuck or just need to look at the finished product of what I made, both in the GUI and the script. If you need that, it's if you join my Discord and go to the I believe it's my videos tab, you can download for every single episode or every single tutorial. I have links to the project files. So until then, I'll see you guys next time.